The massive ships of the Kaveri appeared in Earth's skies without any warning. They hung over major cities like dark clouds, blocking the sun and stars. These ships were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their metal hulls shimmered with an odd blue light that made people's eyes hurt if they looked too long. For 3 days, the ships just watched. They didn't move or communicate. Earth's leaders tried everything to make contact. They sent radio signals, light patterns, mathematical sequences, and even music. The Kaveri ignored it all. Commander Jinwoo Park stood in the Seoul Command Center, his face lit by the glow of screens showing cities around the world. He hadn't slept in 2 days. A cup of cold coffee sat forgotten on a console beside him. "Any response to the latest transmission?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Lieutenant Hannah Kim shook her head. "Nothing, sir. Same as before." Jinwoo rubbed his tired eyes. He had been a military man for 20 years, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this. First contact with an alien species should have been humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it felt like waiting for execution. The alarm sounded at 3:17 a.m. Seoul time. Jinwoo had been dozing in his chair when the blaring noise jolted him awake. "Sir, energy spikes from all Kaveri vessels," Hannah shouted over the alarm. On the main screen, a bright beam of light shot down from the ship hovering over New York City. The beam hit the center of Manhattan. The screen went white for a second, then showed a massive crater where skyscrapers had stood moments before. "My God," someone whispered. Before anyone could speak again, more beams struck. London, Beijing, Moscow, Delhi, one after another, Earth's major cities were hit. They're targeting population centers, not military bases, Hannah reported, her fingers flying over her keyboard. Her voice remained steady, but her face had gone pale. "Seoul is being targeted now." Jinwoo gripped the edge of the console. "Evacuation status." "Too late," Hannah said softly. The building shook as the Kaveri beam hit Seoul. The lights flickered, and for a terrible moment, Jinwoo thought the command center would be destroyed too. But the underground facility held. For 6 hours, the Kaveri bombarded Earth. When they finally stopped, the planet was in shock. 30 million people were dead. Most major cities were in ruins. Smoke clouds blocked the sun in many regions. In the command center, the survivors worked in stunned silence, trying to establish contact with other military facilities around the world. U.S. Strategic Command is responding, Hannah reported. Pentagon too. Most hardened military facilities survived. Jinwoo nodded. That was the first piece of good news in hours. What about the aliens? "They're leaving," Hannah said, surprise in her voice. "All ships are moving away from Earth." The screen showed the massive Kaveri vessels rising slowly into the sky, then accelerating until they disappeared from radar. "They're done. Just like that?" asked Colonel Sung, who had arrived from another facility after the attack. Jinwoo watched the radar screen as the last blitz representing the Kaveri ships vanished. "They think they've won. They think we're broken. Aren't we?" someone asked. 30 million dead. Our cities destroyed. Jinwoo turned to face the room full of tired, shocked faces. "No, our cities are not our civilization. Our buildings are not our strength." He pointed to the screens showing the devastation. "They should have finished the job. They should have wiped us out completely." "What do you mean, sir?" Hannah asked. "They hit our cities but left most of our military intact. They killed millions but left billions alive." Jinwoo's voice grew stronger with each word. "They think they've crippled us. They expect us to cower and wait for them to return and finish the job." He walked to the main screen and touched the image of a destroyed city. "But they don't understand humans. They don't know our history. We have faced disasters before, natural and man-made. And each time, we've come back stronger." The room was silent now, everyone listening. "The Kaveri made a terrible mistake today," Jinwoo continued. They showed us their weapons. They showed us their technology. They showed us they exist. His eyes narrowed. And then they left us alive to study what we've learned. Colonel Sung nodded slowly. We need to contact all remaining military commands. Worldwide. Yes, Jinwoo agreed. And we need to gather every scientist who survived, every engineer, every person who can help us understand the Kaveri technology. For what purpose, sir? Hannah asked, though her eyes suggested she already knew the answer. Jinwoo looked again at the screen showing Earth's wounded surface. Cities that had stood for centuries were now smoking craters. Millions of innocent lives snuffed out without warning or reason. They think we're done, he said quietly. They have no idea what they've just started. He turned to face his officers. The Kaveri wanted a war. We're going to give them one. And when we're finished, they'll regret the day they ever heard of Earth. For the first time since the attack began, Jinwoo saw something other than fear in the eyes of his people. He saw determination. He saw anger. He saw purpose. The Kaveri had made their move. Now it was humanity's turn to respond. And the response would be one that the aliens would never forget. The snow fell heavily outside Fortress Mountain. 6 months had passed since the Kaveri attack. 6 months of mourning, rebuilding, and planning. Deep within the Himalayas, carved into the ancient rock, lay humanity's best-kept secret, a military base designed to survive even nuclear war. In the main chamber, 200 officers from armies around the world sat in curved rows. The room was cold despite the heating systems. No one complained. After what Earth had endured, a little cold was nothing. Commander Jinwoo Park stood at the back, watching the others file in. His uniform hung loosely on his frame. Like many, he had lost weight in the months since the attack. Sleep came rarely, and when it did, the nightmares followed. "You should eat more," said a voice beside him. Lieutenant Hannah Kim handed him a protein bar. "The world needs you strong." Jinwoo took the bar with a nod of thanks. Any word from the Australian team? They arrived an hour ago. Their submarine had trouble navigating through the ice fields. The climate had changed since the attacks. Dust clouds blocked much of the sun, making the world colder. Another problem to solve. But first, they needed to deal with the Kaveri. General Doyen Kang walked to the center of the room. At 72, he was the oldest military leader to survive the attacks. His weathered face showed the strain of the past months, but his voice was strong as he called the meeting to order. "We have all suffered," Kang began. "We have buried our dead. We have pulled survivors from the ruins. We have faced the greatest disaster in human history." He paused, his eyes moving across the gathered officers. "But now we fight back." A murmur ran through the crowd. This was what they had been waiting for. "The Kaveri made a critical error," Kang continued. "They destroyed our cities but left our military capabilities largely intact." The general gestured to a large screen behind him. It showed a world map with red dots marking the destroyed cities and green dots showing military bases. "They hit population centers but missed 70% of our major military installations. They did not target our missile silos, our submarine pens, or our buried command centers like this one." Jinwoo stepped forward when the general nodded to him. He tapped a command into his wrist device, and a holographic display appeared above the center of the room. "These are the remains of the Kaveri ships we managed to bring down," he explained. 2 alien vessels rotated slowly in the hologram. One was mostly intact, shot down by experimental railguns. The other was in pieces, destroyed by a last-ditch nuclear strike. "Their technology is advanced, but not incomprehensible," Jinwoo continued. "We've learned 3 important things. First, their hulls are made of a metal alloy we can now replicate. Second, their weapons systems use principles of physics we already understand, just more efficiently. Third, and most importantly, we've decoded their propulsion system. The hologram changed to show an engine unlike anything humans had built before. They use a form of faster-than-light travel that leaves a trace, a warp signature we can follow. The crowd began to whisper excitedly. Jinwoo raised his hand for silence. Dr. Minji Lee will explain the next phase. A small woman with short gray hair took Jinwoo's place. Despite her size, she commanded attention instantly. For 15 years, I've led a secret space program called Project Phoenix, she said. Before the attacks, we were developing Earth's first true interstellar ship. After the attacks, we recovered Kaveri technology and integrated it with our prototype. Dr. Lee tapped her own device, and the hologram changed again. Now it showed something that made every person in the room hold their breath. A sleek black vessel, shaped like an arrow, with engines that glowed with blue energy. "This is the UES Retribution," she said. "Earth's first warship capable of faster-than-light travel. It combines our best human engineering with reverse-engineered Kaveri technology." The crowd was silent now, staring at the ship with a mixture of awe and hope. "The vessel is currently hidden in an underwater base beneath the Pacific Ocean," Dr. Lee continued. "It can be crewed by 40 people and carries enough weapons to destroy a small moon." General Kang stepped forward again. "We need volunteers for a mission. The most dangerous mission humans have ever undertaken." Jinwoo met Hana's eyes. They both knew what was coming. "We will send the Retribution to follow the Kaveri back to their homeworld," Kang said. "We will gather intelligence, find weaknesses, and prepare the way for Earth's counterattack." The room erupted in voices. Some excited, some afraid, all determined. Jinwoo raised his hand. "I volunteer to command the mission." Beside him, Hana also raised her hand. "I volunteer as communications officer." Across the room, others stood. A weapons expert from Russia, a navigator from Brazil, an engineer from Egypt. One by one, the best of Earth's surviving military offered themselves for the mission. General Kang nodded, pride in his eyes. "The mission leaves in 3 days. Those selected will report to Pacific Base immediately." Later, as the meeting broke up, Jinwoo stood looking at the hologram of the Retribution. The ship represented humanity's best hope. "Do you think we can really do this?" Hana asked quietly, standing beside him. "Find their world. Strike back." Jinwoo studied the ship for a moment longer. "The Kaveri think they know humans. They think they know what we're capable of." He turned to face her, determination hardening his features. "But they have no idea what happens when you corner us. They have no idea what humans will do to survive." He looked back at the ship. "The UES Retribution stands ready," he said softly. "We can track their warp signature back to their homeworld. And when we find them..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The hunt for the Kaveri was about to begin. The darkness of space stretched out before the UES Retribution as it followed the faint energy trail left by the Kaveri ships. Captain Jinwoo sat in the command chair, watching the main screen as stars streaked past. The ship hummed softly around him. After 3 months in space, he had learned all its sounds and movements. "Captain, you should rest," said Medical Officer Taeyong. "You've been on the bridge for 20 hours. Jinwoo shook his head. "I'll rest when we find them." The 40 crew members of the Retribution had trained together for only 2 weeks before launch. They had been strangers then, the best survivors from militaries around the world. Now they were a family, united by their mission and their memories of a wounded Earth. Energy traces growing stronger. Navigator Sunho Lee reported from his station. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. "We're gaining on them." "Stay in stealth mode," Jinwoo ordered. "We can't let them know we're following." The Retribution's engines were based on Kaveri technology, but Earth's engineers had improved them. The ship ran more quietly and used less energy than the alien vessels. It was smaller too, harder to detect. "Coming up on a new star system," Sunho announced. "Sensors show 7 planets." Jinwoo leaned forward. "Any signs of life?" "Scanning now." Sunho studied his screens. "Yes. The 3rd planet shows cities, large ones. The Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. The crew watched in silence as the third planet came into view on the main screen. It was a blue-green world with 3 small moons. "It's beautiful," said Weapons Officer Chono. "Like Earth." "Kaveri ships in orbit," Sunho reported. "At least 20 of them. Much bigger than ours." Jinwoo's face hardened. "Are they attacking?" "No. They appear to be stationed there. Permanent presence. Get us closer, but keep our distance from their ships. I want to see what's happening on that planet." The Retribution moved silently toward the alien world. As they approached, they could see the cities more clearly. Huge buildings reached toward the sky, connected by raised roads. Flying vehicles moved between them. "Those structures don't match Kaveri architecture," Science Officer Mina said, comparing images to their database. "This isn't a Kaveri world. It's someone else's." "Scan for life forms," Jinwoo ordered. Mina worked for a minute, then looked up in surprise. 2 distinct species. One matches the Kaveri biological patterns we've recorded. The other is something new. They appear to be the native species. Can we get communications from the surface? Communications Officer Ju Choi nodded and adjusted her equipment. "Intercepting now. Give me a moment to run it through the translation program." The computer had been learning the Kaveri language from the transmissions they'd picked up during their journey. It wasn't perfect, but it could give them the basic meaning. "Got it," Ju said after a minute. "Playing now." A harsh voice filled the bridge. The translation followed in a flat computer tone. "Sector 7 labor camp production is down 12%. Increase punishment protocols. Remind the teller that resistance will result in orbital strikes on the remaining cultural centers." The crew exchanged grim looks. "They're slaves," Hannah said quietly. "The Kaveri have enslaved them." Over the next 2 weeks, the Retribution visited 4 more systems. In each one, they found the same pattern. Beautiful worlds with their own unique species, all under Kaveri control. The native peoples forced to work in mines or factories. Their resources taken. Their freedoms gone. "Multiple inhabited worlds detected," reported Navigator Sunho as they approached the 6th system. "All show signs of Kaveri occupation." Jinwoo had stopped being surprised. The Kaveri weren't just conquerors. They were empire builders. Then came a discovery that shook even the hardened crew of the Retribution. Ju was monitoring Kaveri communications when she suddenly sat up straight. "Captain, you need to hear this." She played a transmission between 2 Kaveri ships. The harsh alien language was followed by the computer translation. "Have you seen the human specimens brought back from Earth?" "Yes. Primitive creatures. Can't believe they built those cities we destroyed. Command says they might be useful for heavy labor. Too stupid for skilled work. Why bother? The attack was just simple pest removal. We'll go back in a cycle or 2 to finish them off when their resources become valuable." "They don't even consider us a sentient species," Ju said, her voice tight with anger. Jinwoo gripped the arms of his chair. "Save that transmission. Earth needs to hear it." The Retribution continued its silent pursuit, following the increasing Kaveri traffic. The trail led them deeper into what was clearly Kaveri-controlled space. "Captain," Sunho called out one day, "I think we've found it." On the main screen appeared a massive planet with rings like Saturn, but colored deep purple. Around it orbited hundreds of ships and stations. "Kaveri Prime," Jinwoo whispered. "Their homeworld." The crew stared in silence at the center of an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. "How can we fight that?" someone asked. "There are so many of them." Before Jinwoo could answer, alarm sounded. "Kaveri warship on attack approach to the 4th planet in this system," Hannah reported. "Get us closer," Jinwoo ordered. "I want to see what's happening." The Retribution moved to a position where they could observe. The 4th planet was smaller than Earth, with vast oceans covering most of its surface. The few landmasses were dotted with cities. The Kaveri warship fired on one of the cities. Buildings crumbled under the energy beams. They're broadcasting a message to the planet, Ju reported. Translating now. The computer's voice was emotionless as it translated. This is your final warning. Surrender your remaining independent territories or face extinction. Jinwoo stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. He looked at each crew member in turn. I know we came here for Earth, he said quietly. To learn about our enemy. To prepare for our own fight. He gestured toward the screen showing the burning city. But now we know the truth. Earth wasn't the first. These conquerors have been doing this for centuries, destroying worlds, enslaving species, treating thinking beings like animals. The crew watched him, waiting. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, Jinwoo told them as they observed the Kaveri warship continuing its attack. We're fighting for every species these conquerors have subjugated. What can 40 humans do against an empire? Weapons Officer Shino asked. Jinwoo's eyes hardened. We can be the spark that starts the fire. He turned to look at the burning world on the screen. And it's time to show the Kaveri just how hot that fire can burn. For 2 weeks, the Retribution hid in the shadow of one of Kaveri Prime's moons. The crew worked in shifts around the clock, gathering intelligence and making plans. They intercepted communications, mapped defense systems, and identified key military targets across the Kaveri Empire. Their security is impressive, but their arrogance is their weakness, said Tactical Officer Gun Jin-yoon during a briefing. They don't believe any species could infiltrate their networks. Jinwoo nodded. That's our way in. Communications Officer Juwoo had made a critical discovery. Their main command ships transmit access codes to all defense systems. If we could capture one of these codes, we'd have the keys to their entire military network, Jinwoo finished. The opportunity came when a Kaveri command vessel docked at a space station near their hiding place. Using the Retribution's stealth technology, a small team led by Yunjin boarded the station disguised in armor taken from dead Kaveri soldiers found on the warship debris that had reached Earth. Remember, Jinwoo told them before they left, we need those codes, but no killing unless absolutely necessary. The team returned 6 hours later with the access codes and something even more valuable, detailed files on all subjugated species in the Kaveri Empire. There are 27 enslaved worlds, Yunjin reported. Some have been under Kaveri control for centuries, but all have resistance movements. Jinwoo studied the information. Then we won't fight alone. For another week, the Retribution secretly contacted resistance leaders on each world. The plan was simple but daring. A coordinated attack across the entire empire, led by the humans, but fought by all who suffered under Kaveri rule. The day of attack began with a single transmission from the Retribution to every resistance cell. Today, the empire falls. When you see our signal, rise up. At precisely 700 hours Earth time, Jinwoo gave the order, deploy the virus. Juwoo's fingers flew over her console, virus uploading to the Kaveri network. The quantum virus, designed by Earth's best programmers using Kaveri technology, flowed through the enemy's systems like water. It didn't destroy, it rewrote. Defense shields flickered and failed. Weapons systems went offline. Communication arrays broadcast static. Virus deployment complete, Juwoo announced. Their network is compromised. Jinwoo took a deep breath. Send the signal to all resistance forces and launch our strikes. On the main screen, a simple message went out across the Kaveri Empire in 28 different languages. The chains break today. The Retribution emerged from hiding, weapons hot. Their first targets were the orbital defense platforms around Kaveri Prime. Without their shields, the platforms fell quickly to the Earth ship's advanced weapons. Move to Phase 2, Jinwoo ordered. Hit the military shipyards. The Retribution streaked through space, firing with precision at the massive facilities where Kaveri warships were built. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. Weapons Officer Chuno looked up from his station. Captain, I'm detecting multiple civilian areas near the secondary shipyard. If we hit it, there will be casualties. Jinwoo didn't hesitate. Adjust target. Hit the power generators only. No civilian targets, he reminded his tactical officer. We're not like them. Yunjin nodded and reset the targeting systems. Across the Empire, chaos erupted as the oppressed rose up against their masters. On 27 worlds, resistance fighters who had hidden for generations emerged to attack Kaveri military bases and free labor camps. In the Kaveri Supreme Command Center, Supreme Commander Kavex watched in disbelief as reports flooded in from across his empire. Impossible, he declared, his translator rendering his shrill cries into human language. The screen before him showed his prized dreadnoughts falling to small, agile fighters, some Kaveri design, others clearly built by the rebels, and some of a design he had never seen before. How can this be happening? He demanded of his officers. How can primitives from 27 backwater worlds coordinate such an attack? Commander, one of his officers said shakily, the main attack is being led by a single ship of unknown design. It appears to be Earth origin. Earth. Kavex's 6 eyes blinked in confusion. The pest world we cleansed months ago. A new voice spoke, coming through the command center speakers. A human voice, translated into the Kaveri language. This is Captain Jinwoo Park of the United Earth Ship Retribution. Your empire falls today. Supreme Commander Kavex. Impossible. Kavex shouted again. How can primitives from a backwater world do this? The human voice was calm but firm. Because you taught us exactly what happens when you underestimate your enemy. The battle raged for hours. The Retribution darted between larger Kaveri ships, its smaller size and greater speed making it hard to hit. When Kaveri reinforcements arrived from other systems, they found their own defense systems turned against them by the virus. In the command center on Kaveri Prime, Supreme Commander Kavex watched his empire crumble. We must use the planet killers, he ordered finally. Target all rebelling worlds. His weapons officer moved to comply, but the control systems didn't respond. The weapons are offline. The virus has locked us out. A new message appeared on their screens, the same message, repeated in all Kaveri facilities across the Empire. Your reign ends today. But unlike you, we offer mercy. Surrender, and no more Kaveri blood will be shed. On the Retribution's bridge, Jinwoo watched as one by one, Kaveri ships powered down their weapons. Across the Empire, reports came in of Kaveri forces surrendering. They're giving up, Hannah said, surprise in her voice. They never expected to lose, Jinwoo replied. They don't know how to fight when they're not winning. The final surrender came 3 hours later. Supreme Commander Kavex himself contacted the Retribution. You have defeated us, the alien leader said, his translated voice still full of disbelief. What are your terms? Jinwoo looked around at his crew, humans who had traveled across the stars to avenge their world. He thought of the 30 million dead on Earth. He thought of the billions enslaved across 27 worlds. He could demand the Kaveri's extinction. Many would say they deserved it. Instead, he leaned forward and gave his answer. We want justice, not vengeance. All occupied worlds will be freed. Your weapons will be dismantled, and you will help rebuild what you destroyed, on Earth and every world you conquered. The war that had begun with the bombing of Earth was over. A new chapter was about to begin. The Retribution's command deck was silent as the Kaveri Supreme Commander entered. The alien leader moved on 6 limbs, his body covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with each movement. His head, with its 6 eyes arranged in a circle, swiveled nervously as he looked at the humans who had destroyed his empire in less than a day. Captain Jinwoo Park stood at the center of the deck, flanked by his officers. His face showed no emotion as he watched the Kaveri leader approach. The alien stopped 3 meters from Jinwoo and lowered himself in what the humans had learned was the Kaveri gesture of complete surrender. It looked like a kneel, though with the alien's unusual body structure, it was more of a full collapse. Supreme Commander Kavex of the Kaveri Empire, Hannah announced formally. here to offer unconditional surrender to Earth and its allies. Jinwoo stepped forward. The commander of the Retribution looked thin and tired after months in space, but his eyes were clear and his voice strong. "You destroyed our cities," Jinwoo said, his voice unwavering. "You killed our children. You called it pest removal, and planned to return to finish the job." He paused, letting the words sink in. "By all rights, we should do the same to you." The translator relayed his words to the Kaveri leader. The alien scales flickered to a deep blue, the color of fear in their species. Kavex lowered his head further, clearly expecting execution. "Your people have conquered and enslaved dozens of species," Jinwoo continued. "You've destroyed civilizations older than your own. You've treated thinking beings as tools to be used and discarded." The crew of the Retribution watched silently. Many had lost family in the attacks on Earth. All had seen the suffering the Kaveri had caused across their empire. Revenge would be easy to justify. "But we're not you," Jinwoo said, his tone shifting slightly. "Earth demands reparations, the freedom of all subjugated worlds, and your complete disarmament." Kavex's head lifted slightly, all 6 eyes blinking in confusion. "You? Spare us," the alien asked through the translator. "Not out of mercy," Jinwoo clarified. "Out of justice. The dead cannot be brought back by more killing. The children of Earth and all the worlds you conquered deserve a future without endless war." Jinwoo handed a data tablet to the alien. "These are our terms. You will release all enslaved peoples. You will withdraw your forces from all occupied worlds. You will dismantle your weapons and warships. And you will use your resources to rebuild what you destroyed, on Earth and everywhere else." Kavex took the tablet with trembling limbs. "And if we refuse?" "Then we finish what we started," Tactical Officer Yunjin said coldly. "We still have control of your defense systems. We can turn every weapon in your empire against you." The Kaveri leader looked from the tablet to the humans. For a moment, it seemed he might refuse. Then his scales shifted to a dull gray, the color of acceptance. "We submit to your terms," he said finally. The Kaveri Empire surrenders. 3 days later, the Retribution began its journey home, leaving behind a team of human diplomats to oversee the beginning of the peace process. The ship that had left Earth in secret would return as a symbol of humanity's unexpected victory. During the long journey back, the crew had time to reflect on what they had accomplished and what would come next. "Do you think it will last?" Hannah asked Jinwoo one evening as they looked at the stars streaming past on the observation deck. "The peace," Jinwoo considered the question. "It will if we build something better to replace what we tore down." 6 months after the Retribution returned to Earth, representatives from 28 species, 27 formerly enslaved by the Kaveri, plus humans, gathered on neutral ground to form a new alliance. The chosen location was the largest moon of a gas giant in a system equidistant from most of their homeworlds. The meeting place was a vast circular chamber with high windows that showed the gas giant's swirling storms. Each species had helped build this place, contributing their unique architectural styles and technologies. Dr. Minji Lee represented Earth at this historic gathering. Though not a soldier, her leadership of Project Phoenix had made her a natural choice. She stood now before the assembled representatives, many of whom were not remotely humanoid in form. 1 year ago, the Kaveri Empire seemed unbeatable. She began, her words translated simultaneously into 27 languages. They had conquered half the known galaxy. They had technology far beyond most of our capabilities. They believed themselves superior to all other life. The representatives nodded or made their species equivalent gestures. All had suffered under Kaveri rule. Then they attacked Earth, Minji continued. They killed 30 million humans in a single day. They believed they had broken us. She smiled slightly. They were wrong. Images appeared above the center of the chamber. The Retribution in battle, resistance fighters on various worlds, the final surrender of the Kaveri. We could have answered genocide with genocide. Minji told the assembly. We had the power to eliminate the Kaveri entirely. Many argued that we should. She paused, looking around the chamber. Instead, we chose justice. That is humanity's greatest strength, and from this day forward, our gift to the stars. A representative from the tailor, a species that had been enslaved for 3 centuries, rose to speak. The translator converted their musical language. Humans were unknown to most of us before these events. You were a mystery. Now we understand what makes your species unique. Not your technology or your weapons, but your capacity for both righteous anger and surprising mercy. The Galactic Council was formally established that day. Its founding charter, drafted by representatives of all 28 species, began with words suggested by Captain Jinwoo Park. We build this alliance not on conquest or fear, but on the belief that all thinking beings deserve freedom, dignity, and justice. On Earth, cities were being rebuilt. The scars of the Kaveri attack would remain for generations, but humanity had survived and found its place among the stars in a way no one could have predicted. In Seoul Command Center, now restored, a memorial wall bore the names of the 30 million lost in the attack. Beside it hung a simple plaque with words that had become famous across Earth. They bombed Earth. How cute. Now watch humanity strike back.